Today we're working on a mixed media hot air balloon. So I have some samples I did already. Basically you just need some kind of canvas. Here's another one that's a little bit bigger. Today I'm going to actually do another sample of this, but we're going to work on this small piece. I already had a painting underneath it, so I just covered it in white. So anything you can get your hands on. It's a project that's it's pretty loose and messy. So I would suggest just grab what you can. Paper, if you have it, thick would be best if you don't have the canvas. So what you need is a paper or canvas. We're going to work with some oil pastels. I have some scrap tissue, some just scrap painted paper pieces. I found some music notes, some vintage notes, some scraps from an old piece of, I guess an old book, and just some notes and stuff. This is some pieces of tissue paper that I had Printmaked on. I use this in my regular work a lot, so these are just some kind of scraps. We're going to do a little bit of printmaking and just some Markmaking, so anything that you can find. I've got bubble wrap, there's some newspaper in here that I like to use. I take it apart and then I just like to use the middle pieces with the ridges and do some printmaking. This is from some kind of packaging. This is a roll of tape. Anything that's going to make some marks. These are those little, I think this is packaging too. This is like one of the tools. It's got little ridges on it. I think it's for drywall or something. This I made. It was just a piece of plastic and I just cut some holes in it and I use it for stenciling. And just a foam roller. I think this was for kids in a kids kit, and it just has these little different textures to it. So, and then if you have like I call it a Markmaking tool. This is actually for clay and it has the metal ends, but you could use the tip of a pencil. Sometimes paintbrushes have these little sharp ends on it, but just something that you can actually dig into the paint and make some marks will work. Even like I don't know if I said a stick, but that works too, or an old paintbrush. And then just some various paintbrushes, various sizes. They don't have to be, these are old. Some of them, these are usually what I use for mixed media because I kind of thrash them and I use a lot of the like Mod Podge and stuff on them. So just some random brushes. Obviously some acrylic paint, if you've got that. I guess you could do it, I don't know, it doesn't have to be fancy paint, just some kind of acrylic paint. And then some Mod Podge. There's so many different types of Mod Podge. This is for paper, but I'm using it on canvas, so just anything that's going to be help you stick your papers, because we're going to actually be doing some of that, some collage work with some of our items here. And then I use a gloss varnish, but not what it's intended, like to go over it and make it pretty. I usually, when I use tissue paper, I like to use something a little bit thinner than the Mod Podge because it's so thick, and this is just a really nice consistency where it just kind of it just hangs, it helps adhere these, I guess, to your paper or your canvas without some thicky pasty stuff. So usually this one I use for the heavy papers, and any kind of varnish, could be matte, could be anything, I use for the thinner pieces. So I think that's about it as far as items that we need to get started. So the first step that I do is, let me get my samples over here, is I get a canvas and I just paint the background. So we're just going to work really loose and we're just going to experiment, do some printmaking, some Markmaking, maybe some collage on here, not sure yet. And then we're going to work our way into our shapes. So today I probably will just do a single one because my canvas here that I'm choosing is really small. This one, if you have a bigger one, it's kind of fun to do these bigger pieces. So options for you. I fit 3 on here, and if you can see, there's we're going to use the basket. We're going to use some thicker papers and just more collage type stuff. And then I did some collage also in here with some tissue paper and some of my my other, I think there's some music paper actually under here too. And there's some Markmaking in here, like some of those tools I mentioned. I did some scraping. So we're just going to kind of experiment and play. It's a super loose project, and I really like it. It's just kind of fun. You can't really go wrong with it. So I'm going to just go ahead and show you where I start when I have just a blank canvas. So first thing I'm going to do is I kind of like to, before I start painting, I like to see where I'm going to put my balloon in my basket. So I'm probably going to do this one. I'm going to probably make it go to the side here. So I I'm going to paint over this, so it kind of seems like not a good step because it's obviously going to be disappearing. But just for my mind, I like to kind of see where I'm going to place my my objects in here. So just going to pencil this out. So it doesn't have to be perfect, super sketchy Markmaking here. And just kind of practice, kind of get yourself a little, it's like a loosening up practice, really, I guess. Just to kind of get an idea of where you're going to put your hot air balloon. So I would suggest just kind of get an idea in your head. You might not like that, so then you might want to do it somewhere else, but that's kind of what I like to do, is just get some kind of idea of what I'm doing. So that's my first step. My second step now is to just start laying down paint so that we get some kind of background, some kind of way to just keep, we're going to layer. Okay. So we're just going to keep layering. We're going to go, sometimes I like to do like warm colors and then I do a cool color for my subject, but as you can see, I just kind of went all over the place on here. So that's kind of what is cool about this one, is that you don't really need to think, just get your colors and go with it, and that's what we're going to do. So I will put this to the side and let's get started. So on my palette here, I have some of my favorite colors here. I always put a strip of white in the middle because I use white a lot in all of my colors. I usually mix a lot, so I'll take, just going to get started. I'm not going to overthink this. I'm just going to start laying down some of this color. I'm going over my balloon, which is fine. At least I have an idea where it's going to go, so that's kind of helpful. So I'm just mixing white in some of this. I'm not going to go overboard. This is a pretty small canvas for me, so I'm probably going to go overboard, but we'll see. Just kind of keep it loose. Don't forget your edges of your piece. So you want to wrap it around. And I suggest, especially if you're using a brand new canvas, is to just go over like a base coat underneath, because I already have paint under here, and then I went over with another acrylic paint with white just so I could start over with the canvas and reuse the canvas. So my paint is adhering to this really well, but if you have like a brand new canvas, you're going to see that your paintbrush is going to drag, and you're going to see all the you're going to see the material through it. So you want to get an underpainting, which is what we call it, so that it's your paint eventually will just start to go smooth, like what mine's doing right now, because I have, I don't know, 4 or 5 layers of paint underneath this canvas already, because I had painted on it before. So anyways, just keep going. Just gonna cover the whole thing. I'm not overthinking this, you guys. I'm just kind of putting down my warm colors first. And you could do cool colors first if you wanted, or if you just want to do cool colors, or just warm colors. Just get something on here. I'm going to start in with some cool colors just to give it some variety. Alright, so I think I'm gonna do a little printmaking on here. Let's just do a little exploration in with some of our tools that we have right here. So before we get to the balloon. So this is still wet, but I don't really care because I kind of like it to be very messy, where you can pick up color and move it over to the next color. So I'm going to start with a little bit of bubble wrap. So we're going to do, oh, this side. So we're just painting the bubble wrap here, and I'm just laying it down. So I'm going to show you what this is. This is just a piece of plastic, like I said, and I just cut some of these pieces out here. And the way I use it is just like a stencil. So maybe I'll do some do a little bit darker here. I'll show you what this paper or this tape roll, the inside of the tape roll does. Let's do a little bit of green. Cardboard. And if you've seen some of my other videos, I use the cardboard in the bubble wrap a lot, and also some of these other items. So you've probably seen this trick before, but you're just going to paint the ridgy side and you're just going to press it down. Let's do some pink. Stamps work really well too. This is a foam stamp from another kid's kit. I'm just going to paint it. Alright, so I got a little carried away on this one, but just to give you an idea of the possibilities of the printmaking, I'm going to show you the Markmaking tool. So this is my, just anything that has a sharp or just an edge that you can get in here. So let's see if I can get closer. So if the paint is still wet on top, it works best rather than, as long as it's like tacky, it'll work. But sometimes the color digs in, sometimes it doesn't. Just depends, but you know. So this one's already dry a little bit on there, so it's not going to do anything. But I like to just kind of get in here and make little marks. So it worked really well with that because that was pretty thick. But the bubble wrap part is already dry, so that's not going to do much. Oh, sometimes you can scrape it. But it works best when you have a lot of layers of paint and you get it at just the right time to be able to scrape off or to just drag some of that paint somewhere else with your tools. So play around with that. It's one of my favorite tools that I use in my own work. All right. So let's get started. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my pencil and kind of sketch out where I'm going to put this. This is going to be really hard to see. Sometimes what I do is I'll wait for this to dry and then I will grab a piece of chalk and I will just draw it on here very loosely so I can kind of see the marks. Other times I can also get one of my liners, like a thinner brush, and I will get it a little wet and get some really watery, let's do this color here. So have it really watery like a watercolor, and then I'll just kind of draw my outline of where, sketchy still, right? Because it's not going to matter. We're going to like cover this up with some stuff and just have fun with it. It's just going to be very loose. So I'm going to just kind of draw a little bit so I have an idea of where my balloon's going to be. My basket maybe down here. And just a rough idea of where this should be, so it's kind of sits right. So maybe I need this a little fatter over here. You can see how loose, and I'm really sketching with this. But like I said, you can wait for it to dry a little bit and you can go in with a piece of chalk or just a pencil. But I don't advise you to get really, really tight with it because we are going to go over it. And let me show you here with all of this collage. You see how loose I am here. You can kind of see a pencil mark here. I'm not completely staying in the lines. That's the fun part of this project, is it can be very loose and fun, abstract. And so it's almost like they're moving in the atmosphere. So this is good for me. I feel pretty good about these shapes. I might draw in, oh, I forgot, my balloon lines. I always do one in the middle here. So we're doing one just like to break it in half. And then instead of going here to this point, back down to this point, we're going to do kind of like a pumpkin. So the balloon is going to be, there's another one, and here's another one. Again, don't overthink it. They're just lines. They don't need to be perfect. We're just going to get the idea here. There we go. All right, so now I want to start to collage some pieces in. So I'm okay with my background. It's a little bit busy for me, but I also was just showing you some of these different tools. This one I didn't do much printmaking on here. You can see on this one, I have some collage pieces with my tissue, and not much else. I did use those plastic circles here, which I really liked. But I also, after I finished my balloon, I went back in and I started doing a little bit of stuff here. So, which some of this is the oil pastel because I didn't get to that part yet. But let's play around a little bit with this balloon before we mess around with our background again. So I think I'm going to use this thinner, let's see, I don't have a container. I'm just going to put it in the corner over here of my palette. And I'm going to get one of my brushes. that I have thrashed already. And I'm gonna just show you what we're gonna do. This is just like our first layer of stuff, so I have to work small here because I have to remember this canvas is very small. So I'm just gonna grab some pieces. This is the music paper. Again, not overthinking it. I'm just laying these down. It's just to build some texture on here, some kind of, you know, visual interest. And most of this is going to be covered. Some of it will, some of it won't, but you don't need to worry about that right now. Right now we're just laying these down. And some of my paint is getting picked up here, you can see, but I don't care. That's not something that's concerning me right now. We are just building up some layers. So I think I'm going to do a little bit of this basket. I'm going to show you, this is really thick paper, so my thinner stuff won't work with varnish. So I'm going to actually get some of this. This is a lot thicker. You can see it's like glue. You could also water this down, put a little water if all you have is Mod Podge, that works too. But for the thicker pieces, I'm just going to paint it on like this. This piece is a little big for my basket, so again, I'm just layering here. I'm not making a final decision at all. I'm just putting some things down. Maybe I'll use a little bit of tissue, sometimes with the bigger, thicker paper, so it doesn't start to peel up on me. I'll use tissue to just go over it, just to hold it down, glue it down. And sure, I covered up those amazing pieces of paper, but it's all right. I've got more stuff, and now that feels better to me because I can actually see that that is, you know, maybe a basket forming, right? So I can come back and just keep adding to it if I really missed those pieces, or, you know. But I like to just layer this basket. That's the point. It's mixed media. It's, you know, it's nice to get these. This one's not so much layered, but you can see on this one here, I have actually quite a few pieces of paper on here. This one's starting to peel up a little bit. It's still solid, which I like. I'm not going to cover that with tissue, but it's just up to you. It's your piece. So we're going to go in. I did these. Let's see. I found something. This is cool. This is the tissue paper that I just did some printmaking on with acrylic. And I really like the way it looks on top of on top of this. So I'm just laying it down again, and you can kind of see. So here we go. Ooh, I like this other side better, so I'm going to peel that up. There we go. I feel like I need something up here, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit of touch of the black. I'm going to leave that for now, and I'm going to start working on the balloon again. And at this point, you can see I kind of jump around a lot here. I just grab a piece and I think, oh, that's going to go there. That's going to go there. So just kind of go with it and trust your instincts here. So you can keep going. I am going to go ahead and bring in some paint again at this point. So, and you can jump back and forth with it. So I'm going to grab actually my, let's see, maybe my oil, maybe an oil pastel, just so that you can see. I'm going to get some of these lines a little bit darker in here, just to give myself an idea of what is happening here, and give a little bit more separation so it starts to make sense in my brain. So let's see. Oil pastel works really well over acrylic. It kind of, you can blend it in on top of the paint. So this is where I like to get a little bit, it looks a little messy. I use my fingers to rub it all in. White on top of oil pastel really helps kind of pop that color. So you'll have to play around with this material. But I'm going to go ahead and add some paint in here. So with a hot air balloon, some of them, you know, they always have different patterns. So again, there's so much room for flexibility with whatever you want to do with these. There's not really a wrong way to do it. Just some straight lines down. This one I did more of a pattern with boxes. This one I did the colors with the stripes, but then I've got the stripes going down here. This one, I don't know what's going on. It's just a way for, there's just a lot of room for anything. You can't make a mistake here. So I'm going to go in. I want to save some of these cool patterns. Some of them I don't. I'm just going to go in here and add a little bit of pop of this color here. Just to start filling my, you know, just dragging the brush, you guys. I'm just kind of dragging it. I've got like a double, triple loaded color on here with white, a little bit of a lighter color of this turquoisey color, and then darker. So, and I'm just dragging my brush, just touching it lightly. I use my finger a lot to kind of spread. Again, remember, we're just layering here. You're just going to keep going. But right now we're focusing on the balloon because we want the balloon to pop out of this background. Background is pretty busy right now. I may go in and kind of smooth this out, but we'll see. I don't need to worry about it right now. I'm going to add maybe a different color, different blues in here, right on top of that, not waiting for it to dry. I think I'm going to do, I've got some purples there. Maybe I'll do a little bit of a darker. I do start to think about what's behind the balloon, so I don't want to have, there's a purple here, so I don't want to do the same color here. I want to actually separate that so that our brains can kind of see that that's something different from the background. I'm going to get a thinner brush. And maybe some of this pink. So I'm just gonna go with it. No plan. These liner brushes are really nice. They've got a real long tip here, and it forces you to be loose. So you're not constantly working way down here with this little brush. You just kind of hold it at the end, and it forces you to just not be so critical of every single mark that you make. I think I'm going to add some green in here actually. Oops. I want it to be a little bit lighter. Let's add some white with my green. So I'm just adding more texture. You see how I'm putting paint down, and now I'm using my Markmaking tool to make these little circly lines, which is it's just putting another layer of paint on there and scratching into the surface. Sometimes it works really well, sometimes it doesn't. You just gotta play here. Alright, I like how this is turning out. I don't particularly like how it's all outlined here with that bright color with the pink, so I'm going to go in and try to kind of blend that in a little bit more. Just again, very loose. But I want it to pop out from this background, but not in a way that looks like I intentionally, sketched it with a pink outline. Apparently that's not sitting right with me right now, so I'm gonna just play around with it here. Try to get it to a point that I like. So see how loose? I'm just, okay. I'm just not worrying about it too much. I really like this lighter green onto the blue. It's kind of cool. All right. So I'm going to work on the background because I'm getting too fussy with that. So this is pretty busy here. There's a lot going on. It's really kind of going after more of this atmospheric, kind of smooth looking, airy, cloudy, and then I've got my kind of intense energy balloons here. So same with this one. I've got a lot of blending in here with these colors, just spots of colors, and then I've got, this is a little bit busy. So this to me, you can see pretty busy, pretty busy. So we're gonna go in and tone this background down with some paint. I'll go over and do some blending, and then our balloon will pop out a little bit better. We're still gonna work on our basket. So I'm gonna take a flat brush, which I've been using, but it works better for blending rather than these little liners. So let's see if I can work this out here. So I'm just dragging my brush. I'm not really painting and getting hard in there. I'm just dragging it around. Use my fingers a lot, like I said, just to kind of smooth this out. Your fingers work really well with blending and pushing the paint rather than a brush. So if you don't like that, you can use gloves, but it just helps kind of drag the paint in a way that a paintbrush can't. So right here is my yellowy kind of warm colors. So I've got a yellowy color with white kind of paint just to try to get this to a point where it's not so busy, you guys. I'm still leaving some of my printmaking marks. I'm just dragging the paint around a little bit. Again, not overthinking it. And then I'm going to move over to this cool area here. I'm going to bring some of this warmth over here. I really like you, but you got to go. Okay. So you see how it's starting to kind of get that more blendy and not so harsh with all this energy in the background and energy in the balloon. So I have some warmth here. This is starting to feel better for me. I'm going to do a little bit up here too. Just get it a little bit balanced. Not taking away all that pink, but I'm taking away some of it. I feel like I need a little bit of orange up here. So it's taking on more of a painterly kind of effect here. I'm not rinsing my brush out. As you can see, I've got a lot of different colors on here. Once it starts to get muddy, I'll do that, but I'm still able to pick up some of this blue here, this turquoise on the yellow, and I like the way that looks. It's turning into like this cool green. So I have that color there, so I might bring it over here too. Helps balance the piece out. If you put a color in one side, go ahead and see about putting it somewhere else. And then the eye, our brains will just kind of follow it, and it feels better. I'm going to do a little bit down here too, maybe a little bit down here. So it's starting to kind of feel a lot better to me. All right, I'm going to move on to some of this pink. I really want to bring some of this pink over here out. And I've got to fix the base of the balloon and also work on the basket. I might outline a little bit of this here too. I'm going to bring in my oil pastels. These are not the expensive kind. They're just the ones you buy at the store. Some of my favorite colors to work with are, obviously, I don't have very many of them left, but they pop the acrylics out. So I might use this here to just kind of blotchy here and spread it around. Put it back on a color that's similar to it, or somewhere like even the yellows, and just kind of get this in here. Might do some up here. I love using the tissue paper, but it also starts to look like tissue paper, so sometimes I'll go over it with an oil pastel, so it just kind of grounds it. It doesn't make it look so much like that tissue paper with the crinklies. So so this and this are very similar, this purple with this blue in here. So I need to figure out how to separate the balloon to pop it out from this background. And the reason it's blending in is because they're very similar colors. So I think I'm going to bring in some orange. I'll continue with that oil pastel in a minute. Maybe, let's see what happens if I get in here with not that, maybe with some orange. Just to get it a little bit. I could also do this with paint, but I really want to pop that out. So just put a little bit of paint on here. Let's go with maybe some pink. This is one of my favorite colors here. So pop this out, blend this in. A little bit over here. Might tone this down a little bit. So just dragging this brush over all of this texture here. Like I get a set, there's no way, there's no wrong way to do this. You're just going to keep adding layers here until it just feels right to you. Definitely have to change the color of this base of the hot air balloon because it's blending too much in with the background there, and I need to separate that. So I'm going to start to work on the insides of the balloon, and that might help. I'm going to leave the background for now. That might help me separate that too if I get these a little bit finer with the colors, like actually get these a little bit more blended together as if they're one balloon, right? So now I can kind of see the separation here that's happening. Between the background and the foreground. You guys, my cat's trying to get in here. I can hear him. Okay, scratching tools sometimes, let's see, might work here, might not. I like it, it's kind of fun to scratch into some of that. Okay. So now you can see it's starting to pop out. I still need to work on this here. So maybe I'll do like a blue here and see. That got mixed in with the pink, so it's a little bit funny. I'm going to bring this back. A little bit lighter. don't forget to take advantage of your white. It really helps pop things as well. If you add the white into your colors. All right. So baskets, and also this, I can't forget. I'm gonna do some little lines. You see how that's picking up that pink underneath it? I love that. All right. So I'm gonna work on the little basket here, and then we'll be good to go, I think. Just give you guys an idea. Oops. I said I was gonna work on the basket, and I went to that, because I'm not quite done with that. But let's do the basket. Okay. So I kind of like what's happening here. It's not quite set for me yet, so I'm going to go ahead and just start to make some lines. I think I'll do a little bit of the blue just to match the hot air balloon. And you don't need to be too particular here. This is where I like to use a pencil, and just add some texture in here. Like it's a basket, doesn't need to be that way. The other ones I didn't do so much like that, but I'm going to do that for this one, just so you kind of have an idea. So I have these really cool pencils. They're the Stabilo, the aquarellable, whatever. And they are paper, glass, metal, and plastic. So you can draw with these. I'll show you. You can draw with these like this, and then you can get them wet, and then they kind of bleed a little bit. But they work. Let me do it with here. Let's do our little lines for this, and I'll show you. These are our ropes, right? And you get your little liner, and they just do this really cool outline. So if you don't have these, it's fine. You can use oil pastel or a Sharpie. That works well too. It won't bleed like these do or leave these little lines, but I do love using these in my work. That one got a little bit muddy, so I just wait for that to dry and then I'll go over it. Sharpies also work, and so do the Posca paint pens. Sharpie, of course, we have to wait for the paint to dry to use these because it'll get the felt tips all mucky. So even if this, back to this pencil, even if it's wet, I can still go over. You see how it's making like a super dark line now? Because it's wet and it's just making this little outline. If you guys have a chance to get one of these, they're pretty awesome. So I'm just, and you can use them when the paint's wet, which is I like because I'm not very good at waiting. Very impatient. So So I know I told you to wait until the paint was dry, but here I go. So this is a paint pen, and some of this paint's dry, so it's going to be okay, but that's my super thin one. Let's try the thicker one. So I like to just kind of make these, just to give it a little bit of a pop with this black line. And again, just super loose. Don't ruin your Posca pens like I do by not waiting. This is a bad habit here. So just outlining my basket, maybe a couple little lines here. I don't know. Maybe I like it, maybe I don't. All right. So there you have it. I think I used everything. I probably didn't use too much of the oil pastel, but you can, again, go over, see how this is the paint, and then I just pick another oil pastel color, pink, or a lighter pink or a darker pink. And I like to blend that way. I love to mix oil pastels with acrylic paint. Just kind of gives that a little bit more of a pop. So here's this color. So I'm going to just do a little squiggly, and I'm just going to use my thumb to kind of blend that in. I just love that look. So here you go. So you've got your mixed media, hot air balloon. We used a bunch of printmaking tools, oil pastel, some collage papers, built up with either, you know, you've got your thicker paper, which I like to do for the basket in particular because it looks a little bit 3D and you can't see probably from this angle. But there you go. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments and I will try to answer them. So you've got different sizes. You could do one small balloon, bigger one, 3. This is probably my most favorite one. It was the first one that I did, and I really like how loose this is, and I was just kind of going for it and experimenting, so really like it. But I do absolutely love how these turn out, so if you get a chance, go for it with this project. I think canvas is the best, but if you only have paper, do it and see what happens. All right, thanks for watching, you guys.